Welcome, everyone. Okay, so that was the perfect song for this session. Energy. And what an inspiring session before this that was highlighting Black women and giving. So y'all, my name is Taisha Ty Wilson. I am the Director of Engagement here at Philanthropy Together, where alongside my team, we are on a radical mission to grow and strengthen the field of collective giving with programming like We Give Summit. We are going to continue with the theme of celebrating women and giving with today's session that I'm super excited about. If y'all can't tell, we're going to get in a little good trouble, talk about how a new generation of change makers are disrupting philanthropy. So thank y'all so much for joining us. Just a little housekeeping that y'all know, closed captioning is available and it can be enabled at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Today, y'all, we are super excited to be in community with a dynamic group of Black women who are leading a new generation of change makers who are creating new narratives and disrupting philanthropy. So from Alabama to New Orleans to Philadelphia, Ciara, Victoria, Shanell, Chelsea are getting into a little good trouble today. They are using unique and very non-traditional collective giving methods, and they're going to give us a dose of that inspiration today. So does that sound good to y'all? Y'all ready to get into a little good trouble? Okay, well, great. Throughout today's session, y'all be sure to engage in the chat, okay? Engage in the chat. We want to hear from y'all. We encourage you to please share your feedback. Following this session, there'll be a 2-question poll. Also, before we get started, I want to share that very similar to the last 2 sessions, we're going to be doing a random drawing of one attendee for this session for you to receive a book. Y'all books are real good for us to engage more deeply with the speakers and their work. And so stay tuned for that. So you might be selected. So with that, I am super happy to turn it over to my girl, Ciara, with Go Girls Giving. Welcome, Ciara. We are tuned in, honey. We are ready for a good dose of inspiration, and I'm going to give it to you.
Well, thank you, Ty, for that fabulous opening. Hello, everyone. Oh, wow, what a way to kick off this conversation. So before I dive in, I just want to extend gratitude to Philanthropy Together for putting on this amazing event so that voices like mine, like ours, are elevated in this conversation around collective giving and around philanthropy. And so this amazing lineup over today and tomorrow. So we really do hope y'all get a chance to check out the other sessions. And I have to give a huge shout out and birthday to my sister and fellow panelist, Victoria. Today is her birthday, y'all. So give her a little birthday love in the chat. So without further ado, ladies, let's get into it. Welcome to Good Trouble, y'all. And so we're gonna start with some introductions. And I am from the South because I know y'all can hear it in the accent. And in the South, we like to greet each other by saying, "How your mama now doing?" Okay, so I'm gonna kick us off. So I am Ciara Coleman. I am better known as CC Rider amongst my family. I am a daughter of the South, born in Mississippi, raised in Alabama, and I currently reside in New Orleans. I am a daughter. I'm a big sister to a 10-year-old who is my favorite TikTok dance partner. And I organize money and resources as a philanthropist. I do this through my career as a program officer at the Rockefeller Foundation and within my community as the founder of Go Girl Giving. And so Go Girl Giving is a collective of Black women, and we pool our resources. That's money, that's time, that's our talent, support Black women and girls across New Orleans and the metro area. And we do this through our grant process where we award many grants to Black women-led nonprofits across the city. And to date, we are so proud to say that we've supported 19 organizations, many that are small and grassroots. And we've worked directly with women and girls who work directly with women and girls. And we've distributed over $20,000 over the last 2 years. Institutional philanthropy has traditionally underserved Black women and girls. Less than 5% of philanthropic resources go towards Black women and girls. And when you layer on the South on top of that, that's less than 1%. And so we exist as a solution to the problem. When institutional philanthropy can't or they won't, Go Girl Giving will. And so that's a little bit about me and who I am. And I'm going to pass it over to my good sister, Shanell.
Thank you, Ciara. Hi, everyone. Greetings from Philadelphia, the Lenape land, but I hail from South Carolina. So I have a lot of mix in there. I saw somebody from Columbia, South Carolina. I'm an Irmo High School graduate. So I am excited to be here. I am first and foremost a Black woman. I am a first generation college graduate, a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. I am a lover of water, of nature, cooking, and traveling. I have a loud mouth as well, which typically gets me in trouble in traditional philanthropy, because there's a lot of tension with my identity, with my lived experience, with how processes work. And I'm a part of the Philadelphia Black Giving Circle, which was started in 2018. And really, it came from traditional philanthropists at foundations, one, that were tired and frustrated and needed a sense of community and joy, but also wanted to collaborate together. And we saw across our organizations that Black folks weren't getting the money. Not that the work wasn't being done, not that they weren't excelling and having results, but the applications just barred them from getting dollars. And when they did get dollars, they were getting significantly less, which is on par with the national numbers. So we said, what can we do to pool our resources? And the original steering committee, they always said, for us, by us. I don't know if people remember FUBU back from the 90s, but they were like, our money is for us, it's by us, it's our rules. So since then, we've supported over 20 organizations. We've given over $200,000 in grants. And we've really opened up to say, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be only our money. And that came about in 2020 when a lot of businesses, a lot of foundations and individuals wanted to use us as a pass-through. And we said, you know what? Great, but no strings attached. We have the power to name how the dollars are used. And here we are today, still giving money, still existing, creating joy and building community. And I'm just really happy to be here, and I'll turn it over to Chelsea.
Hi, everyone. I love that South CAC is in the house. It just makes me so happy. I'm from Northeast Columbia, South Carolina, and I currently reside in Baltimore, Maryland. I am the daughter of two first-generation college students, and that has really set the tone in which that I kind of approach a philanthropy and approach this field. A lot of my interest has always been in this access and opportunity. As we know, philanthropy has been inherently exclusive when we're talking about family foundations, when we're talking about different corporations and things along those lines. They have the funding, they have the power, but they are not connected to community. And so as I always approach philanthropy, I always think about this from the point of, how can we make sure that things are accessible? How can we make sure that people of color, specifically Black people and specifically Black women-led organizations, have the opportunity to get in front of these funders and in front of these corporations to talk about the things that they're doing in these communities and get that money, right? So a lot of everything that I've done specifically with the Black Mill, which is a grant writing, grant making, kind of strategic planning organization that I created back in 2021, my whole goal is, how do I make pricing accessible? How do I provide pro bono support for Black-led nonprofits that are trying to build themselves up? My biggest thing is being someone who has had corporate social responsibility experience, kind of corporate philanthropy experience, is that we see a lot of the same patterns, right? We're talking about 2020, we're talking about people coming in and kind of influxing folks with money, but there's a lot of strings attached, right? And so how can I make sure, kind of from my perspective, that people and organizations are prepared for when those funds come in? How can we make sure that they have the capacity, that we're thinking strategically? How can we make sure that they're really speaking to all of the amazing work that they're doing in a way that, again, is going to get them that money? So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to kind of continue the conversation, and I'll pass it on to birthday girl Victoria.
It's funny. Thank you, Chelsea. I mean, you all have been so amazing, so many amazing things. So I'll just give an introduction. I am too a daughter of the Deep South. Like I say, I'm Victoria Schutz, a
born and raised in Mobile, Alabama. I have lived in about 5 different places, but I am back home and back making, blooming where I'm planted at the moment. My love and my desire for philanthropy is to always just fill in a gap where I see a need. And so I have approached it always in that way, whether the idea has been so far-fetched or something that I feel has been very attainable. I've always felt like we can always do something. To whom much is given, much is required. There's a quote my grandmother always would express to us, my sister and I, as we were children. So as a daughter of the South, I'm a daughter, I'm an aunt, a dedicated aunt to 2 beautiful nephews, Logan and Andrew, who I love. I'm fiance to the man God has blessed me with, Ahmad. For work and work only, I am an attorney, but that is not who I am. I am a forever student of life. I am somewhat of a mix between Solange, Bozoma St. John, Stacey Abrams. I'm just somewhere in between there with all of their magic. I am somewhere in between there. And I am here representing the founding of Givecoming. And Givecoming was a collective giving initiative during the 2020 and 2021 HBCU homecoming season that I thought of when there was, as Chelsea mentioned, the influx of money going into HBCUs. And I saw that from my vantage point, that it was only going into a certain amount of HBCUs, and I wanted to create an initiative with other alumni from my university that allow us to give back to the school, to the place that raised us, that helped build us, that helped shape us. And so that is why I'm here. I'm so grateful to be here on my birthday. What a way to start off of my personal new year, as I call it. So I'm grateful to be here in community with each of you who are joining us and everyone here on the panel.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies, for those inspiring introductions. So we talked a little bit briefly, each one of us, I think we talked a little bit around the impetus of our collective giving models. And so I think a lot of times Black women, we create the theme because it's missing, right? Or we're frustrated, or we need to express our creativity. So in my introduction, I talked a little bit about how Go Girl specifically exists to solve this resource problem, right? But that's not the only reason why we were created. We were created to ensure there was a community for Black women. We were created around this idea that we need to shift the narrative around who is considered a philanthropist, right? Because it's not just your Mackenzie Scotts, it's not just your Bill and Melinda Gates, it's not your Rockefellers, right? But it is us, right? As individuals. Philanthropy is ancestral and it's part of our DNA as Black people and really Black women. And so I want y'all to just talk a little bit about where you were when you like really created your idea. What problem were you trying to solve? What play was it for you? Was it an equity play? Was it, just talk a little bit more. And Chelsea, I'm going to start with you because you talked about the Black meal, but I really want you to talk about the Black Greek Fest and the work that y'all are doing there. And then let's shoot it over to Victoria to talk a little bit more about the Givecoming initiative.
Absolutely. Thanks for keeping track of what I do because I can't. So I appreciate that.
I got you, sis.
So back in 2020, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And we, along with a couple of other folks that are also part of the Divine Nine, decided to start a Black Greek Festival in the DMV area. And since then, very grassroots. We had no connection at that time with corporate opportunities, things like that. It was just kind of an idea where we said we want to have an opportunity to really bring together people, bring an opportunity to kind of rebuild this DMV area with all the Black businesses that were no longer with us because of the pandemic, right? And so from that, since then, we've had 3 festivals. We've been involved with Afrotech. We've done things with the LA County Fair. And our whole goal and our whole foundation is based on community. So although we have our festival, we always like to say, we work hard, we play hard, but we work harder, right? So we like to make sure that everything that we do is rooted in community. So for example, we all of us have had experiences in nonprofits, organizations, think tanks, corporations, et cetera, that kind of makes our group unique. But we are not always knowing what the community needs the best, right? And so we work with nonprofits in the local DC area specifically that are Black-led, that are grassroots, that are the ones who are out there on the streets, making the decisions, really talking with people to determine what our focus is every year. And so for the past 3 years, we've specifically focused on people experiencing homelessness. And from that, again, we're working with the community. Where should we be located? What are the things that the people who are experiencing homelessness actually need, right? Let's not make these assumptions. And from that, that is all rooted in the work that I've done kind of from my 9 to 5 in philanthropy, right? Always that questioning of, let's not make assumptions of what this community needs, and let's really make sure that we are talking to the grassroots organizations, the people that are leading these efforts, and making sure that these things are getting done, right? And so that always entails kind of with my work with the Black Mill, even the type of work that I do. I always try to make sure that there is some basis, 1 for capital for Black-led nonprofits, 2 for support, and then 3 for capacity building, and making sure that they are consistently building themselves to do the work that they actually need to do.
Yeah. Thank you. Victoria, like, talk a little bit about Givecoming. I remember some of those early conversations that we had just around the importance and the beauty of homecoming. But we also know that there is like alumni, especially for HBCUs, there's low giving rate, right? And so can you just talk a little bit about how Givecoming was created to fill that gap?
Yeah, absolutely. So for HBCUs, for those who may be here and never been to an HBCU homecoming, no matter what campus you're on, it is a true time of celebration. It is a true like family reunion that you come back to every year to be with your peers and people just from your HBCU community and around that collective love for the school. And so, like, as I mentioned, 2020 pandemic canceled everything. There was no homecoming. It kind of stripped us of the opportunity to gather that year. And so, upon the tragic, the murder of George Floyd and seeing the pouring in and the support and the conversation around needing HBCUs to be supported, honestly, I will say I went on a Twitter rant because I just kept seeing money influx into certain universities. And these are great universities, the Howards, the Spelmans, the Morehouse, amazing schools, but there are over 100 plus HBCUs in this country. And so other schools needed money. And so the thought was, well, if no one comes and does it for us, then we should do it for ourselves. No one's coming to save us. So let's do it for ourselves. Let's get together. Ciara and I were in community and got to, get together, let's get some people together to start this initiative during homecoming, which is the most celebrated time where we are the most excited. And so it was around, taking this time that we love so much and there's so much fun, so much excitement, so much energy, and making it purposeful and giving it a deeper why, even though we're missing out on like the physical aspect of it, still having a celebration, but just with a deeper purpose. And, we looked at the committee, the Givecoming committee, and we looked at how we were going to really make the impact at the university. Our school, I'm a graduate of Alabama A&M University in Huntsville, Alabama. And I looked at kind of our alumni donation portals and the different funds that are available. And it was one that came across our airwaves that gave to students. It was a fund specifically for students who were in their last semester and just needed that final push to get the degree, because that $500 that'll keep you from walking across the stage. And there were students who couldn't afford it. And so, we really wanted to push helping the students at that final moment in college. And so, that became an entire movement. I mean, it was a big social media initiative because we weren't together, but it gathered the entire A&M community that I never would have thought, like, it stretched far and wide, and I never would have thought it would have stretched that far and wide. But that's the power of when we show up for us and when we decide to do it for us, by us, as you mentioned, Shanell, and just the true power in that. And it was something that that we replicated the following year, so, and we hope to replicate in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, these are some really inspirational stories, and I hope for the folks that are listening that you're picking up on just solving the issue, right? Solving the problem. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of money, but what we can do together, we can far outweigh anything that we can do individually. So I really love how that theme is surfacing. So this is a good trouble panel. And the late John Lewis, his guiding principle was good trouble, necessary trouble. It is not only okay, but necessary to enact and inspire meaningful change. So I'm going to start with you, Shanell, for this question. Describe for the audience the good and necessary trouble that the Philadelphia Black Giving Circle is doing and demonstrating in its work, and how is it being disruptive?
So really, Chelsea hit on it earlier, is how do we move resources, time, money, knowledge, talent, relationships, because our membership really is based, there's traditional philanthropists like myself that is employed at institutions that have access to dollars, but then there's just community members, nonprofit leaders, there are people that care, there are the Black captains, they're the people that are sitting on the porch in West Philadelphia that have a beat on what's happening and who are the movers and shakers. So our thought was, how do we bring all of these people together? And we decided to codify around race. But you can really distill around any issue with a giving circle. So for us, disruption really meant, one, how do we share knowledge? Because there's so many resources here, and we were realizing that it was in certain circles, or you had to be anointed, or you had to be invited to this thing. And we're like, no, knowledge should be free, and it should be free flowing. So we have an online community for our members, for our applicants, those that identify as Black. You don't have to give money to us. You can just want to be in our community and identify as Black, and their nonprofits can post, hey, I'm looking for board members. I'm looking for consultants. Can someone give me some free coaching on this grant proposal or strategic planning? And then we're also posting grant opportunities. We're also posting opportunities to attend different conferences in the region where we know funders will be, that it may be like, I don't know anybody that's going to be there. I'm not going. I don't want to be awkward, or I can't really be myself in this space. So how can we share opportunities, share who's going to be there, and endorse some of the events? So it's like, hey, be yourself, talk about what you do, and share this knowledge out. And then another thing is really, how in our process are we disruptive to philanthropy? So we moved from a paper application in our first cycle to now we have community nominations, and it's a very simple, we've been doing a Black Liberation Fund for the past 2 years, and the third year is gearing up. And we like to time it with Black Philanthropy Month, which is in August. So we announce our grantees there. Like, we think about natural timing and things, as Victoria said, that get us excited. Like, we're excited about Black History Month. We're excited about Black Philanthropy Month. We're excited to bring our grantees together. So how do we use that as a tool to bring people together to share knowledge? How do we engage the community? So our open process, people nominate, and it's like, what does Black liberation mean to this organization? How is their work getting at that? We do have a fiscal sponsor, so they need to be a 501c3 or have a pass-through with a fiscal sponsor that is 501c3 related. Or if a foundation sometimes has sponsored the dollars. And we make it really easy. We do the homework ourselves with our grant making committee, and we really focus on those questions that we put out there. We don't have a hidden agenda of, you have to have XYZ budget, you have to be really professional. We want to meet people where they are and be in relationship with money if we're not already. So you don't have to prove to us anything. We have to prove ourselves in other spaces, and we don't want Black people to have to prove themselves. We want you to come as you are and not shapeshift, and let's be in relationship and dialogue. And I think the last piece is, because there's so many consultants and people that are in traditional philanthropy sitting on boards, we use it as an advocacy piece. I'm a program officer, I manage dollars. what are our applicants and nonprofits saying that philanthropy needs to do? And now I'm bringing that voice into traditional philanthropy. And now I'm able to create my strategy and my talking points directly from the community. And we encourage all our members to do that. And we have an honest conversation with applicants when we have our intake call to say like, hey, what do you want philanthropy to do more of? Who are the foundations that are giving you trouble? Like, essentially like, who do we need to show up at the end of school and him them up real quick and be like, look, you're not aligned with your values and practices. You're not aligned with your mission. You're actually making it harder. And that's really how we stepped into our own power as a giving circle to say like, hey, we have these relationships. Hey, we have these access to dollars. Like, let's also leverage it as well to move the bigger dollars. We have money coming in, but we can't solve anything with $200,000. We can create community and joy and encouragement. We realize the sign off of, oh, you got money from the Black Giving Circle, I'll give you money, it's fine, which is problematic, but hey, we're moving money to our community and people are getting elevated and being able to continue their work and deepen their work when they were starting to see a dive in the kind of pop of money from 2020 and keep continuing their work.
Yeah, I really love this notion of you all acting as a conduit for advocacy, right? Like holding the institutional philanthropic organizations accountable to community, the ones that they say that they serve, right? There were so many parallels between the work in Philadelphia, Shanell, and the work of Go Girl Giving. I think Go Girl Giving is disruptive because it's challenging, to your point, those philanthropic norms, right? We don't have applications. We nominate, right? We're 15 and growing Black women in community. We know and we see who's doing the work. I don't need an application. I don't need a 990. I don't need a budget, especially for the small dollars that we are giving and investing right today. But at the end of the day, we're honoring you for your brilliance and we're honoring you for the work that you do and continue to do in community. I think we're also disrupted because we're shifting power from institutions to people. And that there is a game changer, right? We also have a donor advised fund at our local community foundation. And, donor advised funds can be controversial. And for those who don't know what a DAF is, it's basically like and I hate to use this word charity or charitable, but it's a charitable bank account. And so we do have a DAF at our community foundation for Go Girl Giving. That was a power play. We have a fund. We are fund holders. And so we sit at this table amongst a lot of wealthy folks in the city of New Orleans who have their account at the Greater New Orleans Foundation. But it meant a lot for us to be in the space and in the room where we traditionally are left out. So I really love like these nuggets that you all are dropping in today's conversation. We have some really great questions, so I'm gonna keep us moving. Victoria has this really beautiful quote in her Instagram profile from Octavia Butler, and it says, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you." And I consider us all to be change makers. So I'm curious, how do you feel this work has transformed you? Whether it's how you show up in this world, whether it's your philanthropic worldview, or some other type of transformation. I know, and Shanell and Chelsea, I think Victoria, you're the only person that actually hasn't worked in like institutional philanthropy or in that space, but we get conditioned to these environments in which we're in, and we constantly have to challenge ourselves to ensure that we are accountable, right, to the communities that we serve, and to ensure that we're not, leading with kind of our institutions, right, how our institutions operate. And so I think that's really important. So I want to go to you, Chelsea, first, so you could talk a little bit about how, having this community-based festival as well as the consulting work, like how is it transforming you as an individual in this work?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to provide a little kind of context as to how I even got to the point of seeing all of these issues in philanthropy. I was working at a nonprofit where they serve 98% Black folks in the city of Baltimore, but the board did not look like that. at all. As we know, it happens that way. And I remember watching board members come into the institution, pass by these folks that they are, making decisions for, and then going up into this big fancy room and talking about all these decisions that they're making, et cetera, but they had no community, no communication, et cetera, except for a few of the folks that were based at or beneficiaries. So that was kind of like the first kind of instance that I've ever had in seeing like this disproportionate power, right? Of how are you making decisions, but you don't know the community? How are you making decisions when you don't talk to the community? Doesn't make sense to me. And so seeing that and seeing a lot of the lack of diversity in these positions of power, in the decision-making, in the funding, and I mean, just so many aspects of philanthropy is how I got to this point, right? Of making sure that Black-led organizations have what they need in order to feel comfortable in those spaces to demand what it is that they want. And so with that being said, I think it has changed me because it's actually, talking to other people and empowering them has empowered me, right? And so as I go into these kind of institutional philanthropic organizations, I'm saying, yeah, I know we usually give to X, Y, and Z, but why, right? Why do we keep doing that, right? What do we have a real plan? Are we doing this just because we need the marketing and branding out here? Or are we actually doing this because we actually care about these communities like our website says, right? And so I'm constantly talking Black-led organizations out of what I call this philanthropic panic, right? Of coming in a deficit, applying for all these grants that actually don't align, right? Just trying to grasp at straws. And I empower them and say, you have a great program. You have a great mission. All we have to do is really dissect it so that you can speak to it to a funder, right? You have all the tools. We just got to kind of zhuzh it up a little bit, right? And so I'm constantly pushing organizations to really kind of sit back and think about what matters to you, what funders match you versus you trying to match the funder, right? Get out of that philanthropic panic. And so all that being said, I feel constantly empowered and inspired by organizations that I work with. And it in turn makes me feel more empowered to go into these institutions and say, yeah, I'm talking to people that are in the community and that what you're doing is not working, right? And I have actual data, actual, voice in this. And so we need to consistently kind of loop back and see how we can change that and grow from this.
No, I really appreciate that, Chelsea. Those are really great points. Victoria, I want to hear from you just in terms of how Givecoming in particular, and even the work that you've been doing after Givecoming and your philanthropic, the way you show up philanthropically, how has that transformed you and your outlook on this work?
Yeah, first off, I just want to say I want to shout out the book Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. That's where the quote comes from. It's on the first page of the book. If you haven't read it, I highly, highly recommend the book. But yeah, so it has really just changed how I feel about the way and the opportunities and the way that we can build community around philanthropy and around giving. I mean, for some people, like giving to a university can seem like I'll do that when I'm 60 or I'll do that when I'm retired, right? And so it really gave me a motivation to say, no, we can do it right now, to really push people, push myself outside of a complete comfort zone and say, no, right now is the right moment. Like we can do this right now. And when we really put our time together, our talents together, and combine all of the greatness that is innately in us, like we can create magic. We can invest in the university and be like true stakeholders and see the school that, see the HBCU that loved us so much, a community that loved us so much. We can pour that love right back into them. And so it's just given me a new fuel of just, like I said, what it means to gather people in community around a purpose that's bigger than me, where there's no benefit to me. There's nothing that comes around for me, and hopefully that empowers other people to feel the same and to do the same in their own lives. And I just think that even just us having this conversation, like you mentioned, I'm not in institutional philanthropy, so a lot of the just like the jargon, the knowledge, the kind of like foundational understanding I didn't have. It was literally an idea that came out of my head one day, and to see it come into fruition, I just want to continue going down that path of when ideas come, to get the right people in the room, to have the conversations with the people who can help push the vision forward. I think that's how it's inspired me to show up in the world. No vision or idea is too big. No giving initiative is too small. Nothing is insignificant. If it matters to you, then it matters. And so that's kind of how it's fueled me to show up.
I love that. And you are so right about the philanthropic jargon. Over the last fall, I worked with a consultant for Go Girl Giving, and shout out to Jilla. And, I was saying, no, I want us to become a pack, and I want us to do this. I want to power build, and she was like, girl, I need you to slow down. Right. And you said you're trying to disrupt white supremacy. You're doing this, you upholding white supremacy in the way that you're trying to create this structure. This is a giving circle, and I have to also give a shout out to Joy in Atlanta, who says we are a giving circle, we are for a giving circle. We get to do this work. We don't have to do this work. And that just, again, around this conditioning, when we're working inside these institutions that want to see metrics and they want to see KPIs, and you got to have an application. It was just a real humbling moment for someone to say, listen, you are showing up with those white supremacist type of practices, and that is not why you created this space. So I love that reminder. Victoria, as someone who sits, on the outside of this ecosystem, institutional philanthropy ecosystem, to remind us that it doesn't have to be that difficult, right? You don't have to, give up your firstborn to give money away, right? And to move money to community. So, we want to make sure that people see giving circles and collective giving models as transformative tools. So, Shanell, how would you, what advice would you give to someone to go about starting their own collective giving model in their community? And wondering, how did the Black Philadelphia Giving Circle start? How many people? What was like the entry point into joining the Giving Circle? Give us a little background information on that.
Yeah, so it started in 2018, and it was a slow ramp up because at that time there was a buy-in of $250, and that could be a barrier. So there's about 50 members, and it was very traditional philanthropy. And I walked in and I was like, I thought we were creating joy and doing our own thing, and we're just replicating what existed. And at that time, it really was, we just needed to do something. We needed to start somewhere. We needed to let getting it done be the benchmark, not perfection, not it's great, not we raised $200,000. It's like, let's just get it done, fill it out, get feedback, and then we can have another iteration of what it is. So my recommendation is, like, small is all. Get people that are in your community that are aligned with whatever, if you're coming in on an issue, coming in on a region, coming in by race, whatever you care about, get people that care about that as well on your team, and just get started. You can contact us. They're Philanthropy Together. They have resources. There's so many resources out there, and don't let it have to be super professional to start it. Just have that conversation and go and be inspired by your own ideas and live them out, as Victoria was saying, because that is really powerful, and we need everyone.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Similarly, Go Grow Giving, we're $400 a year, $100 a quarter. We were birthed in COVID, so didn't want it to be a barrier for folks. And we convene quarterly. I think that's the important part of, like, the collective giving model, is like, yeah, we can give, but what does it look like to create that community? And so, yeah, I think there's some similarities with, how we started and operated. But as Victoria said, no idea is too big, no amount is too small. And I think, just again, as a person who's in institutional philanthropy, I'm constantly battling against, are we giving enough? Are we doing enough? And so, Shanell, that was like, you're preaching to me in this very moment to say, yes, as we are enough. And so that's to anybody else that's listening too. So Sister Ty is giving me my time. notification. So we're going to close out with this, ladies, before we get to questions. So keep it brief, keep it short. What can traditional institutional philanthropy learn from Black women, from our Black generation, from our generation, and from our collective giving models?
I'll jump in because it's burning. It's kind of twofold. One, trust Black people, and two, give Black women a platform to lead and dream, not just to clean up mess.
Ooh.
Because we have so much brilliance and we can clean up mess and we'll make it look effortless. We're probably underpaid and we're probably stressing out people in our corner for us, but just give us a platform to create, to lead, to dream, and where it's gonna be successful. Like, let history tell you it will be successful. Get Black women on your team and let us go.
The chat is on fire, Pastor. Thank you. Chelsea, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm snapping away over here. I think one thing that people need to get, the philanthropic institutions need to keep in mind is treat people the way you would want to be treated, right? I can't tell you how many times I've done pages of reporting, pages of applications, and I know those people sitting up in those rooms making those decisions would never take 4 hours to do those things, right? So, just have a sense of care, have a sense of community, and just be nice, be kind, as we continue in this philanthropic atmosphere.
Yes, I love that, Chelsea. And it reminds me of something that I want to remind traditional institutional philanthropy of, and that is the root word of philanthropy, which is Greek for love of humanity. We need to put the love back into this work. And now to Shanell's point, I would say fund Black women abundantly, because when we are well resourced, everybody wins. Everybody. It is known that Black women, we're gonna give back. We're gonna take it. We're gonna make make $1 out of 15 cents. We're gonna give back to our communities. Everybody, not just Black people. So that's my 2 cents. So Victoria, close us out.
Y'all are so on fire. I mean, what I think I would say just generationally is that it's like we have it. Like whatever it is, we have it, is innate in us. And that when we combine with all of our gifts, all that we've been given by God, by our creator, it pours back into the world this magic, this abundance, this legacy. And that when we are rooted in a why, it keeps us grounded and it keeps us solid. And, I think that is something that as a generation, like we're always thinking about, well, why is this necessary? So just sticking to the why, always having a why. I think generationally that is so important. It has been such a crux for us.
Thank you. So Ty, do we have time for maybe one question, or do we have to close out?
What time is it? Yeah, go with your question. Go for it.
I don't know if there's a question. I didn't see any questions.
There's one in the Q&A box. I can read it out.
Yeah.
It is for Ciara. How did you get the conversation going to get a donor advised fund, DAFT, at the New Orleans Community Foundation? Love that you did that.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. It was not easy. The first conversation, they told me that the buy-in for a DAFT was a minimum of $5,000. And we tried to go back and forth. And at that point in time, it just didn't work. Fast forward, they had a special opportunity where they were seeding DAFs, and we got in through that special opportunity. But really happy to take that offline. I dropped Go Girl Giving, GAUX, like the LSU Tigers. Shout out to them. Go Girl Giving _collective on Instagram. If you want to shoot me a DM. It's a longer conversation, and I feel some type of way about DAFs. But again, it was a power play, but happy to continue that conversation offline.
And I'll kind of jump in. The Philadelphia Black Giving Circle, we went out to the Community Foundation too, and we ran into the same thing. And we basically did a power move in terms, it was like, you need us. Like, your Black fund is not doing well. Who are you funding? The same people. So at this point, you need us. And we went into negotiations with them to start a DAFT. And we ended up not signing because they didn't want to meet our terms. So I think it's beautiful that Go Girl Giving had a buy-in, but also going back to the theme of knowing your worth, knowing your power, knowing what you bring to the table, if it doesn't work for you, say no.
That's
And
right.
the right opportunity will come. So have that in your mind as you're thinking about, who do I align with? Who do I connect with? Know your why, as Victoria said. Know what you're going to take and what you're not going to take. Know your worth, and really move forward. And now we still have money pouring in from people that we do not know. And a lot of it is because we stood firm in what we believed in and who we wanted to align with. And people have now come back to us and say, hey, how can we support you? Or, hey, how can we be helpful? Or have apologized for the interactions that they've had with our grantees, with us as volunteers. So stand firm on what you believe and know your why.
Yeah, and there are so many different platforms. We started off at Grapevine. We also have a fiscal sponsor. Shout out to the Women's Foundation of the South. That is really value aligned to where Go Girl Giving is going, where we want to be. But there are a lot of options. More Philanthropy as a Black-led consulting firm, I believe, and is a managing DAF. So again, look for the values, as Shanell said. You can say no and you can walk away, because there are plenty of ways to get the money out the door. All right. Thank you, Taisha. We will hand it over to you.
Ooh, child. Roll, like, just pass the collection plate. I was having a hard time listening to the chat. This was amazing. Shout out to all of our wonderful speakers, Ciara, Victoria, Shanell, Chelsea. Y'all brought it today. And my heart is literally racing from inspiration. I really appreciate y'all valuable insights and just your bright lights and really speaking truth to power today. I see the chat. I see y'all. Don't leave just yet. I am, y'all reminded me so much of the late and great John Lewis, right? Where he tells us how never be afraid to make some noise. And y'all made some noise today and get into a little good trouble. Necessary trouble, y'all, is what we need to continue to do. And you ladies are representative of that. So flowers to y'all today. I'll be remiss to not mention something, a very tangible and easy way for all of y'all to get into some good trouble today. That is to complete and participate in the 2023 U.S. Collective Giving Landscape Survey. Y'all, from the organizations that you've heard from today, my Giving Circle, Heritage Giving Fund, Go Girls, Philadelphia Black Giving Circle, Givecoming, the Black Male, all of us, we have got to show up. We have to show philanthropy, how we're moving and how bold we are giving in the different ways and what that looks like. But the only way for that to show up is for us to be counted. So y'all, please go to collective.giving. And if you have a giving circle or a collective giving group, please complete the survey. And also, there's a quick, remember to answer that question poll survey before exiting, as well as, y'all, if you are interested in starting a giving circle, please know that we have a free programming hosted by yours truly every month that I host. It's called Launchpad for You. I'll love to come and train y'all how to start a giving circle. And so please join us for that. And the next session, y'all, lots of speed networking is coming up. So don't leave yet. Let's get into community and really talk about all the gems and such that we learned today. So we'll see y'all at speed networking. And thank you all so much for joining us today. Oh, sorry, one more thing. And the winner of today's raffle is, drum roll, Katie Everidge. Shout out to you, girl. You got a whole book coming your way. So we'll be in touch to send you your book. God bless y'all. Have a great day. And we'll see you at Speed Networking. Bye, y'all.